Somebody's asking me what I think of Vite, apparently, even though it's spelled Vite. Americans are going to say Vite. I mean, I don't know. We're gonna go see here. So apparently it's an editor or an IDE or something. Vite.js.dev. Well, if it's got JS in the name, I'm already skeptical. If you editor, I don't know what this is. A Vite plugin. I don't know what this is. Get ready for development environment that finally catches up with you. Why Vite? Before ES modules were available in browsers, developers had native mechanisms for authoring JavaScript in modular fashion. Very JavaScripty. Wow, it has a conference even. It's for web developers. Okay. However, as we build more and more ambitious applications, the amount of JavaScript we are dealing with is also increasing dramatically. Unfortunately, it is not coming for large-scale projects to contain thousands of modules, that fall on their face because of NPM. We are starting to hit a performance bottleneck. No shit. I agree with all of that. That's why I don't want to do web development. That's why I got out of it in like 2000. Vite aims to address these issues, leveraging new enhancements to the ecosystem. Slow server start. You think? Pre-bundles everything in ES build-based dev environment, entry routes and modules. You get your nice, happy server. So this is for doing back-end web development that obviously builds out all of your stuff. It's got routes and everything. I don't think you should be using JavaScript at all for anything on the back end. So I'm not interested. I mean, it might be interesting. It's from the same guy who made Vue. I mean, Vue is awesome. I like Vue a lot. Because I mean, I wish Vue had more traction in the industry. I like it way better than React because it follows the cardinal rules of progressive enhancement, which the web people are supposed to know about. And, you can include it just like you would jQuery before, Evan. Yeah. And then you can, I think I still have a membership to the Vue training site, which is really good. One of the best. But I like Vue. So if Vite's related to Vue, I do like it, because Vue does allow you to just, plop in a library and boom, you can add some, granular amount of flexibility to your websites, like maybe an interactive graph or something. You don't have to bite off on the entire build your site thing, which is what I think Vite is about. I don't know, but it's what it seems like. So yeah, not a fan of, heavy tooling, even though I know that that's required for any kind of, even front-end development these days, because you have to the bigger projects, you have to do that, right? ES build is written in Go and pre-bundles dependencies 10 times faster than JavaScript-based builders. I do think this is funny that the web development community has discovered Go for their tooling because it's faster. You know what else would be faster? Writing your backend in Go instead of Node, which does not scale. Node does not scale. I mean, unless you have Kubernetes and you have multiple, stateless sessions or session tracking or something. Yeah. So look, I am no friend of the web community. I came from the web community, but they hate me because I keep saying things like this. What next is to React? I think so. I think that is what it is. Yeah. Yeah. Node is just a total dumpster fire. It always has been. Since the first day it was invented, it was a dumpster fire. Am I glad it exists? Yes. And Ryan Dahl says that. The guy who invented it says it's a dumpster fire and made, Dino for it. So what do I think of Node? No, that's not the question. The question is what I think of Vite. I don't know enough to think about deploy static sites, blah, blah, blah. This is all stuff for tooling and deployment that has JavaScript in it. Now, unfortunately, this is the part when I have done, believe it or not, I have done a certain amount of web development, including building. And I did a lot of Vue and static site generation with it and stuff like that. Which, by the way, I love that it doesn't have a footprint at all when you first start out with it. You just kind of incrementally add it in. You don't have to have some sort of a net to give you this full-blown environment. I imagine that's what Vite is helping you with. Next is a full server. Okay, so yeah, next is a server. But bundler, I can bundle basically every framework. Yeah. So, you need Node and things like Vite to build the front end of web applications today. And we're talking about web applications. We're not talking about a blog, which is not a web application. Do I need to remind you of that? Or your documentation site. I'm looking at you, Rust. Your documentation site does not need a JavaScript dependency. Do I have to say that? I mean, if there's one thing static site generation has given us, it's the ability to do really amazing things that become static. That, here, I'll sell you on it. You can submit it over a CDN and it'll get put out there all over the place instead of having to depend on. I mean, so will front end stuff, but you really don't need a JavaScript dependency. Okay, so, but that said, there are a number of things for building out complex front-end web applications that use TypeScript and all that stuff. And I do support all of that for front-end web development in JavaScript, which, requires some sort of build tool and bundling tool for sure. So, but that doesn't mean you have to do your backend or your middleware in JavaScript. I never said that. But for building stuff like this, I agree that's what you can do. Ansible language server and TypeScript. Well, I don't use a language server, and a language server for Ansible is probably deployed in Electron and VS Code, and that would be completely consistent with what I don't use it. I don't use an IDE that you could even use JavaScript in for that reason. And full front end with JS is the best option, and back end should be in Go and Rust. Yeah, CodePill, I completely agree. Well stated. It's a good stack. It's a well-established stack. That's what people have been doing all over the place. That's what Kubernetes does. It's, anything that's API driven. And I mean, at least we can agree on that. I mean, there was a time, not too recently, not too long ago, I should say, that you could not say that. If you said Node is a bad idea on the back end, people would lynch you. And there's now very prominent, important people who are saying that, including Mr. The Parmesian, who I have had words with before in the past, but I respect as a human being, and just not particularly my style, but even they've come around. TJ Holloway-Chuck started out being a big Node guy in 2014 and saw ahead of everybody else that Go was going to be the new standard of middleware and backend. And because of that, he wrote Farewell to Node, which if you haven't read it, you need to. And then he became, a big Go advocate and, all around awesome person. This is the article that I read in, 2014 that got me to drop Node completely. And then I only use Node for building, front end stuff, which you kind of need, right? I've done the whole Gulp and the Grunt thing, and I've done Babel and all that. The guy that was one of the big guys on the Babel project became, he was over Facebook for a while now. He started Replit. Amjad, yeah. So, anyway, that's my take on it. It sounds like it might be a nice tool for bundling front-end applications. If you say that it can bundle everything, then because it came from Evan, I would be inclined to consider it for my bundling. If and when I needed bundling. Now, most of the time I try to make my web content not need bundling at all and just use plain vanilla JavaScript for most of everything. But I haven't done, I am going to be doing an application here pretty soon. And I don't know if I'm going to do it as a PWA. And if I do, well, maybe I'll take a look at Vite. So thank you for mentioning it. I think that if you're going to deploy a graphic-based application that's going to run on a mobile phone, that you need to, first of all, decide whether you should do it as a native app, which these days I'm inclined to pick native apps, meaning, yes, you have to write one in Swift and one in Android or Kotlin or whatever. If you're going to have a native app, I mean, there's no better performance. If you're going to have a mobile app, it should be snappy. It should be responsive. It should be fast. And I've kind of softened my position on PWAs in general for when it comes to mobile apps. I am going to make a keg app, right? So a keg network app. I don't know what we'll call it, but yeah. So I'm definitely going to make a keg app because I want to have natural language processing so I can actually enter stuff into my Zettelkasten using the app and just have it synchronize. And so I'm going to be making an app at some point in the future, probably not this year. And when I come back to that, I'll look at things like Vite, and I'll be revisiting whether I'm going to do native or I'm going to do PWA. Progressive web apps have come a long way, but they still do not seem to be fully supported. Safari certainly doesn't support it. And it's really sad that progressive web apps have not gotten more love. However, I also think that progressive web apps may not be able to do the caching that I need on the device itself. So that's really going to be a limitation because Keg is big about caching other people's content on your phone or whatever, so you have it locally. And we might be running into storage limitations. I don't, and that's all stuff for the future that I need to look at. And when and if that time comes up, I'll look at Vite again. So